getting set up here. Get some flies going. Gonna tie some streamer patterns here. Getting close to the fall season. I got some good areas out here. I like to rip streamers. So we're gonna get some. I'm just using some, there's our 1/16 of an ounce white bead heads. We're gonna rock with size 10 streamer hooks, and these ones have that little 60-degree bend kicking up off the top. We're gonna be throwing that out there today. Very sad day today. Horrible news in the world out there. Charlie Kirk's passing. So I'll do a little bit talking about that here when I get a chance. So with these streamers we're tying here, we're gonna be using a size 10 hook, 1/16 white jig head on here with that little bend on the hook. We're gonna be throwing on some white marabou on the bottom of this bad boy to get started. Take a big clump of our white marabou. Get this thing going here. White thread in our bobbin. Get our base tied on. So current events in the news today. Charlie Kirk's passing. Murdered in Utah. Extremely sad day. Absolutely love Charlie Kirk and everything he stood for. So looking out and hearing about that today. I'm a school teacher. I teach in school. So at lunchtime when I saw the news come across my feed there that Charlie Kirk had been shot, I was really hoping for the best, that he would make it, that the shooter was not a good shot. I heard that he had been shot in the neck. I'm avid outdoorsman. I understand what that means. It's usually not a good scenario. Absolutely broke my heart to hear that happen to him. Some people, some students at the school had told me about the video and the graphic nature of that video. Absolutely could not believe what I was hearing. Moments later, I saw the news that it's confirmed that Charlie Kirk had passed away. Absolutely disgraceful and sad that this is what has happened inside our country, that people of the public are assassinating other members of the public who stood for decency. Charlie Kirk was like about 5 years younger than me, maybe. But I look up to that man a lot. I thought he stood for a lot of the right things for our country and in this world. A lot of people would, your instant reaction is you're probably your most animalistic. I know mine was when I first heard it. I was very angry. I'm still very angry that this has happened. You have your want and your demand for justice, your desire for justice, especially for Charlie Kirk and his family, which is very sad. I have 2 kids myself, which are very young, as did Charlie Kirk. And now his kids have to grow up without a father, and he would have been a very good father, I'm sure of that. So for that to happen, especially in our time, and for people to celebrate this on the internet, I've seen a lot of people celebrating that this has happened. It's a super sad moment. I can't believe that people would celebrate this. It is not okay. is not okay for people to inflict violence on others because of their politics. So I know a lot of people have their instant reaction of what they fight back, But the big thing is that people need to remember is that is like kind of the opposite. Actually, it's not kind of. It's really the opposite of what Charlie Kirk stood for. He was against violence. Um, he was very much a honorable, diehard Christian, and he thought that discussing views were the best, not violence. Um, and I bet you he would still say that now. Even in the midst of his own death, he would probably be for uh, the non-violence, no retaliation of this. But I think you get to a problem within our country now when you have so many people attempting assassinations on people of political parties. It leads to a greater problem. And I'm not the one to say what the solution to this problem is. I have no idea. But I think we need to demand justice. I think people who have committed crimes like this, if this man is caught, I saw videos or something of a guy being arrested. Apparently, that might not be the guy who actually did the crime. I don't know, but justice needs to be served. And we've gone too far in this country without allowing justice to be served to people. I think a lot of people see that right now in our prison systems and in things where people are getting away and with committing injustices amongst other people. And justice needs to be given to the family of Charlie Kirk in whatever way that is. What I'm doing here right now, I've got some tinsel going on through the back of my fly here, and I've got some Flashaboo stuff I'm tying around to make the body. I like to build my body up a little bit, put this Flashaboo on, and then I'll wrap this Flashaboo around. But on this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some silver underneath and then wrap the Flashaboo over. And so I'm going to take some strips of pure silver here and wrap that in there. But again, sad day. I'm super heartbroken. Like, I really like Charlie Kirk. I watched tons of his videos. And I thought he stood for things in the right way, like especially his no political violence and stuff like that. And then to see him sadly lose his life in this way, it's super heartbreaking. And the entire country should be outraged. Everyone on both sides of the aisle should be outraged by this. And I have a hard time not blaming a lot of these left-wing politicians for the things they have said to their constituents about going out and fight and meeting these people face in the street and confronting them. And I don't think it's good to convince your constituents to go after people who are not on their team as far as political parties. And I've seen a lot of left-wing people doing this, and I think it's sad. It's not good, and I think it leads to a lot of these things like this. Donald Trump almost being assassinated, Charlie Kirk now being assassinated. When you put out this rhetoric that it's okay to be violent towards your political opponents, that's not okay. And we hear this all the time from the left, all the time. Go out there and fight these guys, get these guys and confront them in the streets, get in their faces. I mean, I heard it was Maxine Waters maybe, or I don't know exactly, allegedly. I don't know if I should say that, but I've seen these politicians say these things, and you can't be doing that, because this is what it gets to. It gets to political violence against your fellow Americans. And Charlie Kirk was a good person. He wasn't a bad person. And for someone to assassinate him is absolutely upsetting and disgraceful. Man, it's it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. So I don't know what's to be done from here. Oh, I'm kind of moving my thing here a little bit away, aren't I? Let me get that back in view. So what you can see here is I wrapped that silver tinsel all the way around the body, and I got this thin marabou coming off the back. I put a couple little pieces of tinsel in that marabou. right? And now I'm gonna take that flash blue and I'm gonna wrap it over the top of that silver. But yeah, it's just it's a sad day for me. Absolutely brokenhearted that this has happened. I just hope peace for Charlie Kirk's family, his poor kids, and having to overcome these challenges that they are going to face. Just a horrible day. Horrible day. I also think, where does this lead? Where does this lead us as a country? I'm a government teacher. I actually teach government, and it's, when kids hear of these news and these stories, it's interesting how you're going to present them to students, and you think about it, and it's how should they think of this? Especially when politicians are saying to do certain things, and I don't know. Where does it lead to? I know that Charlie Kirk, he would not have wanted it to lead to any further violence. That's not what he stood for. He was very much a Christian in his beliefs. So I I do hope for justice, though. Justice for his family and for America, because America has lost a great American who stood for a lot of the right things. So it's absolutely heartbreaking to see this happen and hear about it. Yeah, it's hard to believe. What I'm doing next here is I'm taking another piece of white marabou, and when I put that first piece on, if you noticed, I put it on the top. Man, I keep going out of screen here. What am I doing? I put it on top of the hook like this. On this next one, I'm going to put it under the hook like this, so it kind of sits, because this thing, as I fish it, it's actually going to fish the other way. It's going to be swimming the other direction. And so when I do this, what I want to make sure is I get half of the marabou on one side of the hook and half on the other side, like that. Because if I don't have it like that, one side will weigh down more than the other, and then you're pulling your jig in, and it's always going sideways like this, and it gives it an unrealistic look. So I always like it to be balanced. So I try to pull it across like this and make it really balanced like that. Then I'll pull this. And notice how I make that loop. See how I made that loop right there? I didn't just pull it tight like that, because see how it spins it and it pulls out of the place? I kind of have it loose, and I make a loop around it, and then I pull it tight. That's the trick right there. That loop right there, pull it tight. Oh, I didn't do a good job on that one. But you make that loop, and then you pull it tight, just like that, right? So then I tie down this head, and sometimes I'll trim that off a little bit. Other times I won't. Right now I'm kind of lazy, so I'm just going to tie through it real quick, right? Now, I can leave this like this and fish this just fine like this. When this comes back, this will get in the water. It'll look fine. But depending on what you want to do, if different colors, different variations, what I'm thinking I'm going to do on this one, so I have it's pure white with that silver, I want to add a little dark on the top of it. So you can use a gray. I've seen people throw purple on this. I know one guy who loves throwing purple on his streamers like this, but a lot of times I like to use this dark olive looking color. This dark olive, you put that on the back, and then as this thing turns in the water, as you pull it towards you, and it does one of those, that little belly underneath it gives it a flash, and it's got that dark on top. So they see that belly flash like that, and it looks like a smelt. It gives it that realistic look. So that's what I try to do, is put something dark. I'm going to put an olive brown on the top of this one right here. So I'm going to get me out some fresh piece of marabou here out of my box right here. I'm going to take these ends that I really like, these really thin ones. And you don't need a lot for this, because it's just going to be a strip along the top, and it's giving it that smelt look across the top of its back. Super, super clean looking if you do it right. If you do it right. But if you don't do it right, then it's not very clean looking and doesn't look good. So, and you want to make sure you get the pieces that are long and thin like this. You don't want them to be the fuzzy pieces where there's fuzzy at the bottom. If it's fuzzy at the base, it doesn't really work that well. So you want these long, thin strand pieces like this. So get yourself a cut it off of there. You got it all cut off of there. You're going to take that tip now, and same thing, you're going to split it in half, get half of it on one side, half of it on the other, and you're going to put it around the hook. Boom. And like I said, I want to fish this so it looks on top of the smelt. So I want that to really pull into the top. I don't want it to spread around the sides. I want it to really stay on the top. And like I said, it's upside down right now. I know I'm saying top, but it's upside down because it's going to fish the other way. Ooh, I got a little red piece in there somehow. Sometimes that's okay because that red looks like a hemoglobin or something. But I want to get it out of there. I just want that dark top with that light bottom and that silver like that, because it's really upside down when we're fishing it. Okay. So that's what I'm doing with this little smelt right here. That's what I'm making. But again, talking about the sad day with what happened here at Charlie Kirk, my heart breaks. As most people who are fans of Charlie Kirk, heartbroken about this happening today. Your instant thought was probably what mine was, one of anger and disgust and a thirst for revenge. Oh, I just snipped my bobbin off. What a dork. Okay, let me tie that back on real quick because I snipped it off. And so I think that idea, you know, I think it's a humanistic idea. We all kind of feel that when, you know, you feel wronged. I think, you know, a lot of people in America right now feel wronged because of what happened to Charlie Kirk. A lot of people look to Charlie Kirk, but I think that's when you got to remember what Charlie Kirk really stood for. And he really stood for Christian values. And so whether you believe that or not, I think is irrelevant. I think he wouldn't have stood for any further violence. I think he would have been against that. So I think we got to remember and honor Charlie Kirk in that manner and understand that that political violence is unacceptable. And I hope some of these left-wing politicians and leaders kind of maybe step up to the plate a little bit more and think about the things they're saying and the things they're doing with their constituents, because I really do believe that a lot of this violence leads from the rhetoric that our politicians are spewing out. It's a new age where all that information gets put on the internet and can get interpreted in any way. So I think it's a duty of our politicians to do better with the messaging they're putting out there, because it's not good. And as a person looking from the side, you know, I don't want to see any political violence. I loved it when America was united, when we were all behind each other. It was great. I thought it was great times, you know, and we're so being divided right now, whether that's on purpose or not, I don't know. But it's absolutely mind-blowing. And what's up? I'm doing live, but what's up? Nothing. Y'all good? Okay. So what was I talking about? I don't even remember now. My goodness. It's been a long day. Long day. But for looking from the side, you know, what I'm noticing is I see a lot of this violence coming from the left towards people on the right. And I don't think that's a good thing. I think that's a very bad thing. Especially because probably most of the guns are probably owned by people on the right. And I don't think the left would want a civil war with the right in America. It probably would not go good. Wouldn't go for good for anybody. And it's the last thing us Americans want. But hopefully that's not what this stuff leads to. That's the last thing we want. And it's almost as if people are wanting that and pushing for more violence and more things like that. So I think the people who are doing these things, they, you know, like they really need to think and discuss what they've been doing, because the rhetoric coming out of politicians that lead to violence, that leads to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, or like the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, it's not good for our country. Not good for our country. So this is what this thing's going to look like with this in the water. And these ones I'm going to leave with this back end open, so it's not taped down, tied down. Sometimes I'll go in here and I'll put just a little bit of thread right here, and I'll tighten that down right there so it looks like that. And it'll give it more of a body look. So you have that dark stripe kind of going across the top of this thing right there, and then the bottom. Then as this thing turns, it'll flash. But on these ones, I'm just going to leave them open because the water will suck it together sometimes. And sometimes I leave them open, and sometimes I tie them shut right here. So it's kind of up to you what you want to do with them. But that's how I rock them. That's how I go with it. So let me get another one going. We're going with size 10 hooks again. We're rocking with 1/16 bead head. Right here, white bead head for that streamer head. These hooks, they got kicked up right here. I got that, I think it's like a 60-degree bend or something they call it, but it's not completely 90. I actually really like the 90-degree ones too, but that little kick right there, that bead head sits in there, and I think it really makes that streamer sit right when you're trying to pull it. I fish some deep ledges too on my lakes. I don't know what you guys fish, but the places where I'm going to be fishing these exact streamers, it's got some deep rock ledges, you know, and those deep rock ledges, I almost need to let this thing sit out there for a little bit and drop down and sit flat, you know. And so I want the heaviness, but if you have it too heavy and it falls too much like this, that's why I don't use the straight hooks for these ones. I use that bent hook because it just allows it to sit a little bit more flat in those deep areas as I let it fall flat. And then as I jig it up through the deep areas, it's got that nice little bounce look that I have on it. But so that's where I rock with the 60-degree bend. These are size 10 hooks. And they're size 10 streamer hooks. Those on there, and that little head sits there. Also, that little head, you see how like kicks down a little bit? When I put my back on this, because this is upside down right now, so when I put my back on this, it's going to float right on the top of this, right here, like that. And that head being kicked up a little bit, I think it makes that body look more of a smooth transition, not such a bulky bug head look as much as a actual fish look. So that's where we're going with this. We're using white marabou on our bottom. That's where we're going to start, white thread with the base. So again, I'm out tying flies, trying to get my mind off of the current events of the day. The passing of Charlie Kirk, absolutely brokenhearted about it. Can't believe it has happened. Super sad for the family. I know Charlie Kirk had young kids who are now going to grow up without a father, and a man who stood on great values and probably would have been a great father. And it's absolutely heartbreaking. I usually don't do political. I really haven't got into any political stuff on my channel. I've really kind of stayed out of political. I'm an outdoorsman type of person. I live in a very rural area. I try not to talk about my politics, but, you know, Charlie Kirk stood up for what he thought was right. He put out a lot of information out there, and I felt compelled to come out, tie some flies to get my mind off of it, and to kind of say how I feel, because maybe more people need to stand up and say what they feel, and not stand for the things that are going on in our country. This horrific murder of what I consider an American hero is absolutely atrocious. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking my white marabou, I'm sticking it on here like this. So it builds up the body evenly, and I'm putting it on the top of the hook right here. But again, think this is gonna be the bottom of the hook. I'm gonna flip it over, so this is gonna ride evenly across the bottom of the hook. So, and I want that to be even. I don't want it to, what I mean by even is I don't want it to be like down here getting tied on the hook like that, because then the problem is it's off weighted. I want this to be spread across the hook pretty evenly. Sorry, showing you that I'm messing my marabou up. So there we go. Pretty evenly spread across. And I don't want it to wrap. See how that's twisting it around the hook like that? See how it's kind of twisting it around? That's what we definitely don't want. We want all of this marabou to be sitting evenly across this. That way it keeps the weight of my hook. So I make a big loop and I twist it around and make it tight. See how that's not twisting around the hook? And if I pull this way and bring it back, it's not twisting around the hook. And I can turn it. See how I turned it a little bit? I saw that it was twisting around the hook. So I just kind of twisted it back. Making it stay on the top. Making it stay on the top. Making it stay on the top. Bam. Right? And I'm bringing this body pretty much down to even with this hook tip. I want that line to be pretty much a 90-degree angle with that hook tip. Right in there-ish. And I come back and I make that body nice and tight and even. So it's looking really good. So again, sad day with the passing of Charlie Kirk. Man, I can't believe someone would do that, and it's evil no matter which side it comes from. Politics aside, committing any type of political violence like that is absolutely wrong, and it's absolutely wild to me, because that's one of the things that Charlie Kirk stood for more than anything, was let's discuss the ideas in the American debated way, not go to violence. We don't want to go to American militias and fighting a civil war against each other, and that's where the violence leads to. It leads to civil war, and that is not good. No one wants civil war. All right, so here, now the next thing I'm gonna put on, I've got this tinsel stuff. This is a silver, but it's got that extra little like flash in it, that flash-a-booey look, and it's but it's more silver. And I like to you put this in the tail section. Sometimes I'll wrap it around the body, but more often than not, I put it in the tail section. And here's a little trick too that I really like to do that I think really helps. A lot of people don't see this when they're tying flies. So that thing came off of a roll, right? Is that in the camera? Can you see that right there? See how it came off the roll and it's turning to one way. Well, if you put this on there and it's kicking outwards off of your fly, so if you had it up here and you're looking down on your fly and it's kicking off your fly, it will stick out harder than the marabou when it's wet. And so you'll catch some fish, but it doesn't keep it even with the body. So what I do is I take this and I run it. I make sure that it's turning inwards towards my streamer. That way, it's not sticking off of the fly, but rather pushing into the fly. I tie it back. And notice how I brought it completely straight down the side and not all the way through the end. It's before the end. I broke it before the end. So it's not silver all the way to the end. All right. And then I tie that bad boy back up. And here's a little trick if you don't want to have to cut it and then try to tie it on the other side. You fold it back towards yourself. Tie it off a little bit. And then you roll it to the other side. If you don't fold it back like that before you roll it to the other side, the thing will end up kicking outwards. This way, it's kicking perfectly inward on the other side. But I got to tie it a little bit better to the other side. Notice how I tied it as I pulled it where I wanted it to be. The thing will flip right inside just like I want it. Again, sad day in America. Lost a true American hero today. That's what compelled me to actually talk about some politics on my channel, which I never, ever, ever do. But I feel like it's justified in this instance because super sad that we've, as a country, got to a point where we're assassinating political speakers. Charlie Kirk wasn't even a politician. He was just a guy who went and spoke ideas. And for someone to do that is so outrageous. I mean, um, it, it it just, I worry about where it leads to. Where does it lead us to as a country? Where are we going to end up going to? You know. So on this body here, what I'm putting on is I'm wrapping a silver around the body, and then I'm wrapping it's a tinsel. It's like a Flashaboo tinsel. I'm using a pearl right now, and it's going to wrap over the top of the silver. So since I'm going to put the silver on, and the Flashaboo is going to go over the top of the silver, I'm putting this Flashaboo on first because it's going to wrap last. So here goes your Flashaboo. Put that stuff on there. Come back forward. Bam. All right. Now I'm going to cut myself a nice piece of silver tinsel. And notice how I cut off my tag ends. I don't leave it on the roll. A lot of people will leave it on the roll. I only lose a little bit here and there, and I save all those little tag ends, those little pieces, and I tie them on other flies, smaller flies. So I really don't worry about it too much. All right, so here we go. Let me get this flash out of the way. It's kind of bothering me. Pull it underneath my vise. Bam, there we go. All right, so now we're going to tie this tinsel in. There we go. Again, I haven't really heard much from anybody else about their opinions on this Charlie Kirk. I haven't looked very much on social media. Try to stay off that as much as possible, but there are some people out there who I value their opinions and see what they're saying, and I just haven't even got out there to look because I'm just too heartbroken. And so, where do we go as a country? Where's this going to lead us? What are we going to do? Notice what I'm doing right now is I'm wrapping over that tinsel to cover it up, but I'm not really wrapping it to cover the tinsel up because I'm going to take the tinsel and wrap over it anyways. What I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to build this body up and get it just a little bit fatter. I don't want it super narrow. Some people do want it super narrow depending where you're fishing. Some people want it to like slice through the water really thin. I'm actually fishing kind of a wavy area where the waves are beating up on the rocks. The wind's blowing in and it's deep ledges. So I want this thing to be kind of heavy and kind of fat and kind of big. One, to hold it down underneath so the wind doesn't pull it up so easy. But also it just, in this area, I just want it fat getting down there to the bottom. A lot of people will add more lead. On these particular ones, I'm not going to add any lead. I just want that lead head so it falls down deep into that bottom, but then I can just kind of keep it flat as I'm pulling it up through the deep rocks. So I'm going to pull this tinsel across now, the silver tinsel, keeping it super tight. I want this tinsel to be super, super tight, like, oh my goodness, tight. But the problem is it falls off the back sometimes like that. So you got to kind of pull it forward as you're pulling it tight, just like that. Bam. Back to the front. Bam. Oh, sad day in America. Sad day. Doesn't matter which side you are on politically. I think everyone should condemn the actions that happened here. You have the right to your beliefs and all that, but man, Charlie Kirk was a good person. And for people to assassinate him, I'm blown away. I'm blown away. And that's what this is. This was more than a murder. This was an assassination of a political figure in America. And my big problem is I just don't know where this leads to for our country, for us as a people. I think we all aspire to be what is just and right. But again, Charlie Kirk's values as a human, he was very much a Christian, believed in Christian morals and views. Notice after I put that silver tinsel down, I'm now wrapping this Flashaboo over the top. I just like the way that silver sticks to that Flashaboo. It gives it extra little look. I kind of like it. And I'm wrapping it in tight circles to give it maybe a scaly look. I don't know, but an extra little flash. I don't know. But that's why I try to keep them tight. So big thing with Charlie Kirk was he was against political violence. Against violence at all. He thought, bring your ideas to the stage and let's debate them. This guy who's committed this crime, or this suspect, perpetrator, that person is a true coward. If they had any sense of moral, or if their ideas were any good at all compared to Charlie Kirk's, they would have went to the stage and debated. But instead, they committed a very cowardly act, and it is a sad day. And again, normally I don't talk about politics on this channel. It's not my thing, but I just felt a little compelled to get out here and talk a little bit about it. Can't believe it's happened. I just can't believe it's happened. He was a very bright, conservative young mind, and a leader for the future of our country. And so it's just sad that that's happened. So again, we put some white Flashaboo on the base of this. We put some silver tinsel coming back through the tail, silver-based body, and we got some silver tinsel with some Flashaboo wrapped around the tinsel. If you notice, I just had a massive mistake right here. You see how this tinsel is coming off the back? It slipped off the back. Okay, not good. But check it out. It's not that big of a deal. We're going to fix it anyways. Earlier, when I tied this last one, where I showed you this guy right here, I left this one open without it tied down. All I'm going to do is, on this one, I'm going to tie it down right here to give it a body. And it'll keep that tinsel tied in, and then it'll give it a little bit different a look. But we'll see what you think. So this guy, I'm going to add a little bit more white to the bottom of the hook here, but what would be the top of the hook out when you're fishing, because again, this thing is upside down. It will be being fished the other direction. So we're gonna take our marabou. Remember, split it in half so it's balanced. Your hook isn't heavier on one side more than it is the other, because these feathers will get wet. They will carry weight. Pull our feather up. Remember, I'm not twisting this feather. I'm making a loop so it pulls this feather in on the what would be the top side of this hook. And see, it's kind of twisted. I'm going to try to keep my thread out of that. Do 1 or 2 loops, and see how it's kind of twisted? All I got to do is turn it back. Just turn it back with your hand. Do 2 loops, and then turn it back. And start tying it off. Bam. 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 And see how I went on both sides of the feather? You know, I want to snip this one off a little bit right here. Sometimes I'll be lazy, like that last one. I think you saw me. I just kind of tied this in. I was super lazy about it. Man, my scissors are getting dull. Look at that. It's not even cutting. Time to order some new scissors, man. Okay. So at least I removed some of that material. Let me get a little bit more. I want to get this stuff off right here because I don't want it to be super big on this one right here. So I snipped some of that feather out of there. And now I'm going to really wrap that in so it doesn't come out. Remember, I want that dark top on this, so when it's flipped back over, it'll have a dark top, and it'll be swimming through the water. So again, I've been using this olive. Again, you use purple. I really like to use gray a lot. Gray is one of my favorite ones to throw out there. But again, I'm using some dark olive brownish marabou because it gives that dark greenish look, and I put that on the top, and I've actually been doing really well with it, really well with it. And I want those thin strands of marabou, the ones that aren't all bushy. These are nice thin strands. Put half on one side of the shank like that, half on the other side. That was a horrible job. Try again. Bam, there we go. So now we're on there. Wrap around. Remember, I'm not twisting it like this. I got to make that loop so it pulls it all in tight to what would be the top. Bam, 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 bam. All right. Now it's in there like that. See how it makes layers? Can you see the layers on that? So this is upside down, but you can see the dark bottom, the light middle, and then that flashy belly, like just like a smelt. I'm gonna cut out some of these little short ones right here left over. Then I'm really gonna tie this in. Really, really, really tie it in. See how that's got that olive right there? I don't like it. I'm just gonna twist it out of my way a little bit. Start tying it back in. Bam, 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 bam. All right, there we go. And I don't like it. I want to tie it in a little bit more. Bam, 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 bam. Get crazy. Why not? Bam, 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 bam. Put a ton in there. Who cares? All right. Oh, look at it all unwinding off of there. That was wild. All right. So now, this is where I'm going to stop at the head of my fly. I'm not going to go any farther on the head. I'm going to do a whip finish. Hit my whip finish on here. I use my hand. Some people use your tool. I can do it just as fast with my hands. So I hit my whip finish. Bam. Back on. Oh, didn't get it that time. Whip finish. Come on. Back on. Okay. We tie it on tight. All right. So now I've got my knot tied on tight. I'm going to snip my thread up real tight. Oh, I didn't UV resin my last one, did I? The last one I forgot to UV resin. My bad. Here we go. So we're going to take our UV resin, our hardener for our knot. We're going to slather it on that top piece right there. Hit it with UV light so it hardens real nice. Oh, the UV light's dying. Running out of battery. Get on there, let it cure. And this one, remember I messed up that tinsel? It came off the back on this guy. So we're going to wrap this around the back to keep that tinsel locked in. And it'll give it a look. So I come up through this. Notice how I pick up all that marabou, pull it this way. I just wrap it around the back of this hook. Oh, I don't like that. Let me try again. Try again. Round 2. Fight. Okay. Notice how I like make a loop all the way around. I'm not twisting it tight. I'm not doing something like that. All right. We don't want that. We want all this marabou pulling back. We're going to make a big loop around all of the marabou. And then we're going to tie it tight in a knot. And that way it will pinch it all evenly and keep all that marabou right in the exact spot you want it. So I wrap my wrap. Oh my gosh, I'm hitting the camera with my hand. I can't do it. And watch. Boom. See how that pulled it all tight? Then I'm going to wrap in my wrap on both sides of this tag end. Both sides of the tag end. Both sides of the tag end. And back around. Bam. All right. I'm going to cut off my little tag end here. Ooh, come on now. And then I'm going to wrap some more wraps to keep that whole thing in tight. Now, notice I have some hairs hanging off the front of this. Big deal. Just cut them off. Oh, don't drop your scissors, though. So here we go. Cutting them off. There's a big one right there. I don't like it. Oh, can't get it. Can't get it. Get it. Oh, my eyes are going bad and I don't have glasses. All right, here we go. So now you can see that that's layered. The top of it is green. The middle is white. And the bottom has that silver flashy look that's going to be flashing when you turn that thing. So that's the look we got on this. All right. And now I've wrapped this a couple times. Again, whip finish. Take our whip around. Pull it in. Tighten our knot down. Oh, I hit my hook shank. Bam. There we go. Tie it in. Come around. One more whip finish knot. Tie it in tight. Cut our thread. Then you got to hit this. Oh, my UV stuff just spilled. Great. Now we're going to hit the bottom of this right where I put the knot. Not too much. Right where I put the knot. And we're going to hit it. Bam. Let that cure and harden. Put the lid on my UV so I don't spill it anymore. And that's what it's going to look like that. It gives you that smelty look and it fishes. And when it's wet, this gets straight. Got water right here. That's what it's going to look like when it's wet, and you can see that flash start coming through that tail. So that's the difference that it'll look like if you tie down this spot right here. Sometimes I really like to fish it like this. Sometimes they'll only bite it when it's like this. Then there's the other times like this one where I leave it like this. And remember, I was planning on leaving it like this, but that tinsel was slipping off the back that I wrapped around this body. So this tinsel that you see, I've got a silver tinsel on there with some flash wrapped over the top. And so it gives it a little bit of flashy look. So as this swimming through the water and it turns sideways, it gives a little bit of flash to that belly, a little bit of flash to that belly, a little bit of flash to that belly. And it got that dark look with a silver going down the body of the tail. Really effective streamer pattern, especially for beginners. Beginners, this is your pattern right here, especially with the kicked up head like that. So that's tied on that 60-degree bend, and I put that head on there. What's going to happen is if you are not very good at stripping streamers, or you're just learning, you don't really know, you're a beginning fly fisherman, all you got to do is put this underneath indicator. So I use water balloon indicators. That's just how I like to do it. But this will sit flat, almost perfectly flat under your indicator on your line. And so as it's coming through the water, bam, it's just sitting perfectly flat, and you don't have to do much. So for beginners, tying them with this crazy kick head right here is a really key way to making streamers. This kind of one's kind of sloppy, a little bit sloppy, but it's all right. It looks pretty good. So that's how the two different ways I can tie the same exact streamer. Again, you can put different colors on this. I do some that are gold. Here's some in my kit that I use for this certain spot. I have different kits for the lake that I'm at, that I fish different streamers at different areas. And where these fish are stacked up right now, these streamers are just smashing them. But you can see I do some white ones that have some gold on the bottom, you know? And so it's the same kind of thing. These ones right here, you can see they're more flat. They're not tied on the kicked head, because I still need some of those in my box. But all these ones up here, you see they got the kicked head with the flashaboo, the silver, the gray top. You can see I got some ones over here that have the green tops. These guys right here, if they're really not biting and I really need to get some action, these are my broken back ones that I tie that get a lot of motion in there. It's just them, they're tied together. And these really work a lot. That big one is kind of more for show, but these little smaller ones with two hooks, it's got a little trailer on there that comes behind it, and it just gives it that motion in the water where it flops back and forth. And so they both really work. But I always have a streamer pattern like this when I go to the deep rock ledges where I'm going to be fishing. That way I can get them down those rock ledges. And when I say deep, I'm talking, 15 feet coming up. I mean, there's some areas out there that are probably more like 24 feet, but most often it's just that 10, 15-foot area that you bring it up from where they really start biting. So that's what we're tying. Wife came out of here a little bit ago. She's got dinner for me. So I'm going to have to cut this one right now. Again, sad day. Sorry to hear about Charlie Kirk. I don't talk much about politics on this channel, but I felt compelled to get on here and say some words about how bad I felt. And my wishes and prayers are with the family of Charlie Kirk right now, as it is a sad day. Give a little moment here. The family and life of Charlie Kirk, as we end this podcast, or this live stream. Adios.